Hey and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's begin with our daily news. Frank Lampard unsure on Mason Mount's Chelsea future amid Arsenal links. Frank Lampard has admitted that he is unsure if Mason Mount has played his last game for Chelsea after rumours Arsenal want to sign him. Arsenal are likely to be seeking reinforcement in midfield this summer after what has been a brilliant campaign so far. Mikel Arteta's men will be hoping to head into the summer window as a Premier League champions, but their return to Champions League football should already be enough to attract top-class players. Of course, the Gunners have been heavily linked with a move for Declan Rice, but they are also keeping tabs on Mason Mount's situation at Chelsea. Indeed, Arsenal have reportedly already held talks with Mount over a possible switch to North London this summer. Now, Chelsea's caretaker boss Frank Lampard has admitted that he is unsure if the 24-year-old has played his last game for the club. Speaking to Football London, Lampard was asked if Mount has already played his last game for Chelsea after picking up an injury which will keep him out for the remainder of the season. He said, I don't know the answer to that if he has played his final game for Chelsea. It's a conversation between Mason and the club. It's not final at this point, and we'll have to see because those conversations are ongoing. It's a shame for me personally because I think everyone knows how I feel about working with Mason, and I like to think he feels the same about me, and we could have done with him in the games we have played already this season. But the bigger picture is something that's going to become clearer in the next weeks and months, and that will be the club and Mason together having conversations. Of course, Mount will have just a year left on his current deal with Chelsea come the summer, and he is attracting interest from the likes of Liverpool as well as Arsenal. It will reportedly take £70 million to lure him away from Stamford Bridge, though, despite his contract situation. It remains to be seen if Arsenal can get him. David Moyes admits Arsenal target Declan Rice could leave West Ham. West Ham manager David Moyes has stated that the club need to consider the possibility that captain Declan Rice could leave in the summer. The midfielder is a vital asset to the Hammers, and this has not gone unrecognised. He has been linked with a move to both Chelsea and Arsenal. The English international has a contract at West Ham that expires in June 2024. Due to this, West Ham ran the risk of losing him on a free transfer next summer. Rice has been at the club the whole of his professional career, and no doubt West Ham fans would be very sad to see him leave. Moyes was speaking about his side ahead of their match against Liverpool in the Premier League. When asked if the club are planning with and without Rice next season, Moyes admitted via the Standard, yeah, obviously, he is such an important player. He would be missed by any club, so any club who didn't have him would miss him, and we certainly would miss him, partly because he is a big part. But my hope somewhere is that Declan thinks this is the best place for him to be, and if somebody doesn't come up with the right amount of money, it will continue to be the place he is as well. The 24-year-old will believe he has the potential to be in a squad battling for titles, and due to this, he could easily leave this summer. This is the last window where West Ham could manage to get a huge fee for the player. This would help them to be able to afford a quality replacement, despite Moyes revealing that the stance from the club is clear. The fact that he has made the admission that they are planning for life without him emphasize that they aren't confident he will stay. Andriy Shevchenko delivers verdict on Oleksandr Zinchenko before Manchester City versus Arsenal. AC Milan and Ukraine legend Andriy Shevchenko has hailed Arsenal star Zenchenko ahead of his return to the Etihad to face Manchester City tonight. The Gunners signed the 26-year-old from the defending Premier League champions in a £32 million deal last summer. He joined Gabriel Jesus at the Emirates, and the two players have been sensational. Shevchenko knows Zenchenko very well, and he has now delivered his verdict. Arsenal have had a sensational season in the Premier League. They are currently 5 points clear of Manchester City, and although the balance of the title race has swung in Pep Guardiola's favour over the last three games, they are still in with a great chance of winning the league. Zinchenko has been one of the biggest reasons why Arsenal are where they are, and Shevchenko has heaped praise on his development over the years. He also believes the 26-year-old has been one of the best left back this season. He told CBS Sport, "He is so light on the ball, very good technique, and he was not afraid to take responsibility when he was playing. Even when he first started, you could see immediately that he had a different, natural quality to anybody else, technique, movement, and confidence. I remember him coming to the national team. He was a boy of 16. He looked like a baby. He has developed and grown so much. The captain of the Ukrainian national team, one of the best left backs this season. He deserves all of this for his passion for football, his discipline, his desire and ambition." Zinchenko deserves a lot of praise for his performances this season, but he will be the first one to admit that he hasn't been at his best recently. The Ukrainians' mistake against Liverpool cost the Gunners 2 points at Anfield earlier this month, while Lee Dixon felt he was at fault for Southampton's third goal last week too. Zinchenko needs to bounce back to his best, and what better game to do it and than against his old club and what many people think is the title decider at the Etihad tonight. Journalist says £30 million Arsenal player is going to be in the squad tonight. Granit Xhaka has indeed travelled with the Arsenal squad to Manchester ahead of the game against Manchester City this evening. Speaking on his YouTube channel, Charles Watts has delivered an update on Xhaka, stating that he could well be in line to start for the Gunners in this crunch clash against Pep Guardiola's side. Mikel Arteta named Xhaka as a doubt in his pre-match press conference, but according to Watts, he has been deemed fit enough to travel with the rest of his teammates, and he is expecting him to get a start. Watts shared what he knows about the £30 million midfielder. Team news-wise, Granit Xhaka is there. He is available and he has travelled. That is good news because he missed the game against Southampton on Friday with illness. Mikel was doing the mind games or whatever you want to call it when saying he is a doubt yesterday, but the expectation was that he was going to play and he was going to be fine, and I am fully expecting Xhaka to start. This is a really big boost for Arsenal ahead of what is going to be a massive game. Of course, Xhaka is one of the Gunners' most important players, and with the midfield battle being so crucial in this game, his return to the starting 11 should help the North London club. Xhaka is one of those players. He could just as easily win this game for Arsenal as he could lose it by getting sent off, but after a stellar season, you have to feel that he is more likely to produce a moment of magic than a moment of madness in this match. Xhaka's return could be huge in this title race. Kevin Campbell is convinced Arteta's about to drop £34 million Arsenal player tonight. Kevin Campbell has tipped Fabio Viera to be dropped from Arsenal's starting 11 against Manchester City. The Portuguese midfielder had a bit of a nightmare against Southampton at the weekend, and with the Granit Xhaka set to return to the side, Campbell reckons that Viera will be taken out of the side. However, Xhaka does remain a doubt, but even if the Swiss midfielder doesn't start for the Gunners tonight, and speaking on the Hyper Squad YouTube channel, Campbell stated that expect Leandro Trossard to come in for Viera, with Zinchenko pushing up a bit higher to play in the midfield. Campbell tipped the £34 million player to be dropped. He said, "If Xhaka is not back by the way, I think the extra nose of Trossard could be a difference maker. There may have to be some tinkering with Partey and Zinchenko because Zinchenko would have to play more as a midfielder, because if Trossard is to play, we have to get him higher up the pitch. I don't think Viera plays, no." Mikel Arteta has to play the team that he trusts the most in this game, and it's hard to imagine that Viera features in that particular lineup. Indeed, After a disastrous performance last weekend, the Portuguese midfielder may not be up to the task of playing in the biggest game of the season. Meanwhile, players like Xhaka and Trossard have consistently stepped up in the biggest games this season. Of course, this all depends on Xhaka's fitness, but after Charles Watts claimed he was fairly certain that the midfielder will start in this one, it's fair to say that we should be expecting to see Xhaka's name on the team sheet this evening. Pep Guardiola hails Mikel Arteta for one thing he is done at Arsenal before Man City game. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has said that Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta brings another dimension to the way they play. Guardiola was speaking in his press conference ahead of a massive game in the Premier League title race. Arsenal go into the match at the Etihad 5 points clear of their nearest rivals. However, Man City have 2 games in hand, meaning, theoretically, the league is in their hands. Man City couldn't be going into the match feeling more confident. They have an FA Cup final to prepare for and a Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid. Guardiola has been quick to praise Mikel Arteta and the effect he's had on the Arsenal team. Asked about his counterpart, Guardiola said, I think Mikel brings them another dimension. In fact, they are huge competitors in all senses. They are so aggressive. They went to Anfield a few weeks ago, and a team who have been the best in the last years at winning the second balls, long balls, transitions. Arsenal was better. They control all the aspects, and we felt it. I don't say anything new. In the 2 games we played this season, we felt it. You have to challenge them in those terms, otherwise, with the speed they have up front, for the density they have in the long balls, the second balls, the quality they have in the build up, so it's difficult. He added, I have the feeling Mikel changed the structure of the club, changed a lot of players. He was supported by the hierarchy of the club, and that's why the success is there. Guardiola and Arteta worked very well together at Manchester City, and he won't be surprised he is succeeding at Arsenal. However, Guardiola has heaped praise on opponents before in important matches as a way of playing his own mind's games. Arsenal fans will hope Arteta doesn't try to second guess himself too much going into the game. Their North London rivals attempted that at the weekend against Newcastle and paid the price immediately. Pep Guardiola issues verdict on Arsenal captain Martin Odegaard. Pep Guardiola has heaped praise on Martin Odegaard ahead of Arsenal's trip to Manchester City tonight, claiming that the Gunners' skipper is an exceptional player. The City boss was speaking in comments reported by Goal ahead of that massive game at the Etihad Stadium, which could go some way to deciding where the Premier League title goes this season. It's Arsenal who have had a wobble of late. Mikel Arteta's men have drawn their last 3 games to leave the door open for the citizens to potentially step through. It could have been worse had it not been for a late fight back from Arsenal against Southampton, and the player who sparked the comeback was Martin Odegaard, with the captain taking matters into his own hands and getting their second goal of the night. Odegaard has been in unbelievable form for much of the campaign. He is definitely a candidate for the player of the season. And ahead of the contest, Pep Guardiola shared how he has been impressed by the midfielder for a long time, ever since he visited Bayern München to train with the Bavarian side. He said, I remember perfectly, he came with his father for 2 or 3 days of training sessions. I needed 5 minutes to think, this player plays good. I think he made a tour all over Europe, training for many clubs. In the end, Arsenal was attractive for him, an exceptional player, captain at his age in Arsenal in a short time because you have to have a special personality, has the strength to be a captain. Mikel wouldn't give him captaincy if he didn't have the strength to be captain. Odegaard's career has been remarkable. Incredibly for a 24-year-old, he has been on the scene for more than a decade. There were concerns that he was going to be a player who would never hit the heights initially expected of him. His time with Real Madrid ultimately has to be considered a disappointment, but that presented Arsenal with an opportunity, and they have provided the Norwegian with the platform to show why there was so much excitement about him in the early stages. He is now one of the best players in the division, and there is still a very decent chance that he may become the latest captain to get his hands on the Premier League trophy. I will be uploading daily Arsenal news, so keep your eyes on the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Peace out.